Welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. And here's the queen herself, registered dietitian Heather Klug.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. I'm Heather Klug, registered dietitian with the Karen Yantz Women's Cardiac Awareness Center. And with me today is Bethany DeBrew-Adams, our health communications coordinator. Hello, Bethany.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
I am doing well. So, Bethany, COVID restrictions are loosening.
Yay!
Yay! And people are ready to get out and have some fun.
No kidding.
Yeah. COVID-19, as we all know, changed many people's eating behaviors. And one of the biggest things was they were eating out less.
Well, it's hard to eat out when restaurants aren't open.
Yes, that's true. The combination of being able to eat outside with the warmer weather and more people being vaccinated means that people will be venturing out to eat this summer. I mean, people just want to get out of their personal bubbles.
Oh, yes. My mom's birthday is coming up. And that was one of the things she said she definitely wants to do is like go out with her children to a nice meal, like at a restaurant. You know, it's been a lot, like I haven't eaten in a restaurant with my mom, who I see all the time, in over a year, probably a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So there is pent up demand to go out to eat. And I think a lot of us may be a little bit out of practice when it comes to eating out at a restaurant, not in a manners way, although, you know, please be kind to your servers and respectful.
Oh, yes.
But Heather, our Queen of Hearts, is going to share some key healthy dining out tips with us today so that we can get our hearts healthy, we can keep our hearts healthy, and we can still enjoy going back out to eat at restaurants. And of course, she's also going to share her own personal tips throughout, right?
That's right. Now, before I share the tips, I just want to get us in a positive mindset about eating out. Now, if you're somebody that enjoys eating out, like myself, you want to try to avoid seeing out as like a treat or a reward, right? We say things to ourselves like, well, I deserve to eat what I want tonight because I haven't eaten out in a while, or I'm going to treat myself, you know, those kind of things. Going out to eat is very enjoyable. There's just something about the atmosphere. I don't even know how to put it into words.
I do. It's that I don't have to cook it and I don't have to clean up after it. Those are the words right there.
Yeah. Well, I was getting to that a little bit. It's like, even if you don't know anybody when you're out to eat, it's just nice to get out of your house and not have to cook, like you said. So at the same time, it's important to resist the temptation to go overboard, which is so easy to do when we go out to eat. I can see this being especially problematic if you haven't eaten out in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I went to my first restaurant when we were on vacation in April. So that was like the first restaurant I'd been to and eaten at the restaurant since March of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And I think, you know, it felt like, well, first of all, it was a little nerve-wracking because I think with everything we were bombarded with in the past year, it was a little bit like, oh God, okay, keep my mask on, take my mask off. We were sitting outside, we were in Florida, it was beautiful weather. But at the same time, you know, you're just having that little bit of a panic attack about, you know, oh my gosh, I'm eating and other people are eating and I don't know if they've gotten their shot and all of this other stuff, you know. But I used to see going out to a restaurant as a treat a little bit more. And I think as I've gotten older and I've done it more, it's less of a treat and more of like a, oh, I just don't want to clean. I don't feel like cooking. I just want to leave that to somebody else for the night.
Okay.
So unless it's like a birthday or something, you know, like a special occasion where I go out and I'm like, man, I am getting dessert and I'm getting an appetizer. Like most of the time, it's just, I'm just going to go because I want to eat something that I don't have to cook myself.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But occasionally I like to do the whole thing. Or like there's certain restaurants where like my husband and I don't tend to eat out during the week. We're like the weekend restaurant people, but like we'll think of something on Monday and go, oh, you know what we haven't had for a while? We haven't been to this place. And then I'll be thinking about it all week. Like, ooh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. And then I get really excited for it. And then it feels like a special occasion just because I've been looking forward to it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's dive right into some of these healthy eating tips that you have for all of us.
All right. Well, here we go. The first key to healthy eating out, I have 4 of them. Okay. So we're going to go through 4 keys. The first key to healthy eating out is to plan ahead. I know this one sounds boring, but a little planning can be helpful.
See, and I agree. You didn't expect me to say that, did you?
Oh, that it's helpful or that it's boring?
Well, that I agree with you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I have really come to enjoy the fact that restaurants have their menus online. And if, I know where I'm going in advance and I can look up what I want to have and kind of compare, especially if they have that calorie count on there so that I know, okay, this might be a little much for tonight, So I like a little bit of planning, but what is your idea of planning? Because I know it's going to involve a little bit more than just, what do I want?
Yeah. Right. So part of that is sort of what you're doing, where you're looking up nutrition information for different things that you'd want to eat. And the good news to that is there's so many sites available to do that now or to find that information. Like MyFitnessPal is good, Calorie King, and then there's Healthy Dining Finder. Those are my favorite ones. Calorie King is nice because you can even put in the name of the fast food place or restaurant and it will bring up all their food items.
Oh.
Yeah. And then
that might be scary.
Yeah, maybe. But, and then you just click on each one and kind of look through them. But Healthy Dining Finder is my favorite. It's run by registered dietitians and it helps you locate restaurants with healthy food options. And you just type in your zip code and it will reveal the places that have healthy options. And then it shows you what those healthy options are. So basically it's narrowing down your food choices.
Okay. So if you're somebody who goes to a restaurant that we all know those restaurants where you get a book to read.
Right.
That's supposedly your menu. This is something that may help you so that you can narrow it down for yourself.
Correct. Because otherwise it's so easy to get overwhelmed, right? And then the server's coming around and they're going to come and they're going to ask you what you want. And you're like, I don't know yet. I need more time. And then you just might make a quick decision and you're maybe not picking something that's both healthy and something that you also like the taste of. So it feels kind of rushed, right? So
even that you want to eat. Having that little bit of time to consider like, ooh, do I really want a burger or do I really want something lighter than that, like a salad? Like I think sometimes we just go, okay, fine, I'll have that. Right. And then we eat it and then we're like, well, I'm not satisfied because that's not what I really wanted anyway.
Yes, that does happen. So that can kind of help with that ordeal, right? Because then you kind of go in with maybe like 3 or 4 different ideas that you maybe could have. And now you've thought it through, like you said. So now you're making a real well thought out decision. Now, there's a few other ideas too for the planning part. So one of them, I'm sure people have heard of this before, but you can eat sort of lighter during the day and bank some calories for later. Now, this is not the same as skipping meals, though. I want to point that out. It's just like,
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, it's like maybe you don't eat snacks that day, right? Or like between meals, or maybe you just eat a little bit lighter lunch so that you can save a little bit more calories to have something really nice that you'd like to have for dinner. That's just kind of an example. Now, another option is, and this has been shown in research to really help, and that is to eat something light before heading out to the restaurant.
So you don't go in hangry.
Yes, we don't want hangry. That's a very good point. Because sometimes when you go out to eat on the weekend, like you mentioned, it might be really busy. And if it's a place that doesn't take reservations, or right now they don't even always have enough staff at places, you might be waiting a while. and you're hungry when you get there and you smell the food. Now you're waiting to sit down. Then you're waiting, for them to bring the menus and to take your order. And then you're waiting for your food. You may have like an hour and a half to 2 hours and you came in hungry, right? Now you're hangry and now you're just going to go way overboard. So if you know that might be a potential situation, you can eat something a little light ahead of time, like on the way to the restaurant or right before you leave, something with a little bit of fiber in it or lean protein. So like, a small handful of nuts might be good, or some string cheese, or a piece like an apple has been shown to even be helpful. And what happens is that little bit of food is just going to take up some space in your stomach and you're not going to get so hangry, and it's going to save you like up to 300 calories later on at the meal.
Oh, bonus.
Yes. Yeah. And then my last tip, Bethany, for the planning ahead is that think about alcohol that's drank before the meal and during, and we're trying to limit it. Now, we just talked about alcohol in our last podcast and how that affected atrial fibrillation, but this is a good general rule for just about everybody, and not drinking too much before you sit down to eat or during the meal, because we all know what happens when we have a few drinks in us.
Our inhibitions go wee.
They go way down. They're like out the window.
Out the window.
We're like, who cares what I'm eating anymore? I'm just going to have some fun, right?
Right. Yep. Ice cream drinks for dessert, everybody.
So just drink alcohol in moderation, right? Be careful with that.
And the other thing to remember is that the calories in alcohol. So try not to drink your calories if you can. Save them for something that's going to stick around in your stomach for a little longer.
Yes.
So what about maybe what you choose to eat? Do you have any tips about that?
Yes, because that is the second key to healthy eating out, Bethany. It's choosing foods carefully. So what I mean by this is that you learn how to decode the menu. And I'm sure many of our listeners already do this to a certain degree, but look at the words that are used to describe different menu items. So I'm going to say a bunch of them, and I want all of you to be thinking, what that sounds like. So if I give you the words, Alfredo, au gratin, batter dipped, crispy, crunchy, deep fried, rich, sauteed, smothered, twice baked.
Creamy.
Oh, creamy is another good one. Yep. These are all things that sound very rich, right? You probably all needed a little drip cup underneath your chin there. Those sound very good, but they sound very rich, very high in calories. So we want to pick things that have healthier sounding words, right? And I know we know these: baked, boiled, broiled, grilled, steamed, lightly sauteed. I know they don't always sound as appetizing, but those are generally going to be healthier options.
Yeah.
Now, another thing to do is to just try to avoid entrees that are really large in size to begin with. Like,
ooh, can I give a tip on this?
Yeah, please.
Because I like to go to some restaurants that give you like enough calories for a day and a half for your meal. And so I've learned that I can't eat all that food. Like, that is a lot of food.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is divide it right away. So like if, let's say it's chicken, potatoes, and broccoli or whatever, I'll try, if they give me 2 chicken breasts, okay, I'll take one and put the other one to the side. I'll take half the potatoes and half the broccoli. So I've made myself another meal. I've cut it in half.
And you literally push all that food to the other side of the plate?
Yes, I do. And even if I'm sitting there going, man, I'm so hungry, I could eat this whole thing, I don't allow myself to do that, because usually I've found that at places that do serve you those enormous portions, they also show you how many calories are in them in the menu.
Yeah.
And if I commit that to memory and go, if I eat this entire thing, I'm eating 1,600 calories. And this is dinner. This means I've eaten breakfast and lunch already today.
Yeah.
This is not, I'm not doing that.
For most women, that's, way too many calories, right? Because you might need 1,600 for the whole day. So to get it all in one meal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my little tip.
Okay.
And sometimes you can even ask the wait staff if they can bring you a box right away.
Yes.
And you can just take that half and just put it in a to-go box right away.
You're
you don't even
taking
have
one
to
of
look
my
at it.
tips for later, Bethany,
Oh,
and that is
sorry.
no, that's okay. But no, that is a really good one because a lot of people think, oh, I'll wait till the end of the meal and then ask for it. It's almost like we're trained to not ask for it till later, but you can ask for the take-home container when you order your food, especially if it's a place that they serve large portions and you know that, and you're trying to not eat all of it. Ask for a take-home container right away. And then you get it off your plate and you stick it in there. Now you're not going to go overboard, right?
Exactly.
Unless you go back in the take-home container, but most people aren't going to do that.
And you feel a little shame doing that if you're going to do that. You probably won't do it.
Right. I mean, I do that with when I order Chinese food too, with what they give me. I can get 3 or 4 meals out of that usually. So yeah, you just get good at doing that after a while with certain things, right? If you do get the larger amount, but otherwise it's helpful to not, go to places where they serve super large portions if you're not as disciplined in eating less than what they serve you, if that makes sense. Okay. And then my next tip is to order smaller sizes of favorite foods. So I hate to tell people, oh no, you can't eat French fries anymore, or you can't have this or something you really like. Instead, I try to teach people, okay, if there's something you really want, and especially if you haven't had it for a while, like French fries might be a great example, get the French fries, but just get the smallest size possible you can, or even ask them to only bring half as much as they normally do. That way you get a taste of what you want, but you're going to save like several hundred calories because the difference between a small size of French fries and a large is like 300 to 400 calories. So that can make a big difference, right?
Yeah, I'll say.
Yep. And I'll add, you were mentioning the 1,600 calories for your dinner before. Most dinners in a restaurant are between 1,000 to 2,000 calories.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that.
All right. My last tip for the second key in choosing foods carefully is to follow what's called the rule of 2. Have you heard of this before, Bethany?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
It's a new one.
So think of all the categories when you go out to eat. So you could choose an appetizer, you could choose a drink, you could choose an entree, you could choose dessert. There's all these categories. The rule of 2 means you pick 2 of those.
Oh,
okay. Because sometimes we go out and we're having all 4 and that gets us into trouble. Yeah. So pick 2 of them that are most important to you. And that gives you a little bit of built-in kind of discipline. I don't know another word for that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like you've established a little bit of a limit with yourself.
Okay. Can I just ask, would I be allowed for the rule of 2? Because you mentioned drinks in there. So I'm taking all drinks into account, not just alcoholic beverages. But let's say I wanted to have an unsweetened iced tea. Would that count as a drink, or is that not a drink because there's no calories or anything?
No, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. I would not count that because there's no calories in it. Unless you're adding like a ton of sugar, then I would count it.
Right. If you like your Southern sweet tea, then that is
you count
definitely a counted drink.
Yes. But if it's unsweetened tea or diet soda, something with no calories in it, that doesn't count.
Okay, good. Yay.
Does that make you feel a little bit better? Okay.
It does, because I'm not good with only water with meals. I need something that has some sort of a flavor to it.
Okay.
So I grew up on unsweetened iced tea. I can drink gallons of it.
Okay.
So that's my go-to, especially in the summer. Now, what about the bane of probably chef's existence, and that's asking special requests for your food? I know some places they'll say like there are no substitutions. So obviously for those places, you probably won't get what you ask for.
Right.
But
well, that just happens to be the third key to healthy eating out, Bethany. And that is asking for special requests. And there are loads of options here. I'm sure many people know about these, but I'll share what I find to be helpful. A lot of these things is what I do when I go out to eat. So
you must be like Sally and When Harry Met Sally. Going out to eat. I'm just picturing that.
I probably am. If I'm with a group of people, though, and I know I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, I'll call that restaurant ahead of time and say, I'm coming to your place tonight, and, I have to stay away from lactose. Can you go through with me what I can get so I don't have to ask 20 questions with the waiter or waitress tonight
Okay.
in front of everybody. So that's one option. But in general, definitely ask for healthier options and substitutions. I know that most places are very willing to accommodate you. And I've talked to a lot of servers because I do ask for things to be prepared differently and for substitutions. And I'll apologize if it feels like I'm asking so many. And most of them, I will tell you, say, you know, this is part of our job. They said, we have so many people that go out to eat that have heart disease and diabetes and celiac disease that most of them, I can't speak for all servers, but most of them have told me that they're fine with it. Like they just, it's part of their job, you know, as long as you're nice, you know, like, oh, is it possible if I could, you know, get it cooked in olive oil instead of butter? Or is there a way to substitute a salad instead of the French fries, right? You know, so you can do those sorts of things. The worst they can say is no. So just ask nicely. So again, you can ask for food to be prepared differently, ask for healthy substitutions. You can order dressings and sauces on the side. Occasionally,
it's always a good idea.
Yeah, occasionally I forget to do that, and then I regret not asking that because otherwise they douse it on there, especially for your salad dressings. Try to always get that on the side. That way you control what goes on there, and keep in mind every thumb size amount for things like mayo and dressings and sauces is going to run you about 100 calories. So anytime you cut back even a tiny little bit is helpful.
Okay.
Another option is to ask for just less of something on your food. Can you put less mayo? Can you put less cheese? You know, those kind of things. My next tip, since they give you enough for like 2 or 3 people, as we've discussed, how about splitting an entree with somebody, right? If you can agree on the same item, that might work out as an option.
My parents used to do that all the time. They would go out to eat and they would order the same thing. Or if they ordered 2 things, they would split one entree and take the other one home and have it for dinner the next day.
Oh, very smart.
So they were like super ninjas with that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. And we talked about the take-home container and asking for that ahead of time instead of the end of the meal. So that's the end of my special requests section.
All right. So for your last key to healthy eating out, is it don't go out to eat at a restaurant? Is that your last?
No, of course not.
You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that to me, would you?
No. Now, in general, it is helpful to limit how often you go out to eat, like maybe once or twice a week, putting a little bit of a limit on there.
Right.
But that isn't
your
the last
wallet
key.
would want that too.
That's true. The 4th key to healthy eating out is taking charge of what's around you. So let me explain what that kind of means. Something helpful is to be the first person to order your food. Have you ever been one of the last people to order and then you're listening to what everybody else is getting? And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll change my mind. That sounded pretty good. Maybe I'll get that instead.
I usually say I'll go fast if I don't know what I want.
Well, sure.
So, but yeah.
Well, if you're really disciplined and you can stick to what you're ordering, that's fine. But for other people, it's like if they hear what other people are ordering, they're going to change their mind.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Another option is to just keep foods off the table that you don't want to eat. So ask your server, say, you know, don't even bring the bread or the rolls, or if you're at a Mexican restaurant, don't bring the chips. Although I will say for the tortilla chips, here's what I do. This is my tip because I love tortilla chips when I go out. I take a napkin and I put that in front of me and I grab a handful of chips, and they're usually big. So I break them apart into, you know, however they break apart, 2 or 3 pieces each. And then I feel like I'm getting more chips because there's more of them. But then once they're done, once I have no more left on my napkin, it's like, that's my stopping point. I'm like, okay, I went through them all. Because if I don't do that, I'll just keep eating them.
Yeah. I'm okay with tortilla chips, but they're not the top of my list. But when they're placed in front of me like that, I'll eat the whole basket, like without even thinking about it. And then just be like, oh my gosh, where did they all go?
I mean, it's so easy to do, right? Because eating out is like a mindless eating activity. It's like you're just having fun and talking with people and sharing stories, and you're not really paying attention to how much you're eating.
Right.
Yeah. Another option, you can ask your plate to be removed as soon as you finish eating. You know, if there's food left on the plate and you don't want to take any home, have them take it away so you don't keep nibbling away at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my last tips is to follow the pace of the slowest eater. I know
That's me.
Oh, that's you? Oh, it's definitely not
It's
me.
me.
Oh, that's good, Bethany. There's always one slow eater in each group, I feel like. So if you try to follow their pace, I should go out to eat with you because then I can follow your pace.
Well, see, what ends up happening is like people then stare at you. Like,
well, don't stare at
watch
them the
you
whole
eat.
time. Glance over now and then. And, you know, if they put their
Right?
fork down, you put your fork down, you know, those kind of things. It's just you want to be eating slowly. Because again, eating out is mindless and we're not always paying attention to that stuff. And it's really easy to lose track of how much you're eating. And then you look down and go, oh my gosh, when did I eat all that food? I don't even remember doing that. And you always want to take close to like at least 15 minutes. It's like 15 to 20 minutes somewhere in there is when those fullness signals really kick in. Even if you eat a large amount of food, if you're done in like 5-10 minutes, you're full, but you don't know you're full yet. And that's when people are reaching in the middle of the table to get an extra roll or extra chips. So slow down that pace of eating, whatever kind of works for you to do that.
Yeah.
And then my last reminder here, just in taking charge of what's around you, just remembering that only you can make the choices that are best for you. So no matter what other people are doing, because sometimes eating out can be kind of,
Peer
I don't know, there's
pressure-y.
peer pressure. Yeah. I mean, other people are out and they want to have a good time and some people might even pick on you a little bit like, oh, come on, you know, enjoy yourself. You can have that. What's the big deal? But if you're trying to make healthier choices, you just have to remind yourself of that and go, you know what? No, I'm going to do what's kind of best for me. And stick up for yourself if people are saying those kind of things, you know?
So speaking of that peer pressure-y kind of situation, before we go, what about tips for the things that we've kind of been doing throughout the pandemic that are going to become bigger now? And I think more people are going to be doing them. Things like backyard barbecues, tailgating at ball games, those kind of things where it's almost even more peer pressure-y because a lot of times those things are food prepared for you by friends and family.
Oh, yeah.
So now you also have to be like, I can't have 75 pounds of potato salad because, you know, like, so there's that kind of aspect to it. What are your tips for those?
Well, I've got quite a few tips, but if it's like how to handle somebody's comments about that, are you saying like they'd say, don't you want some more potato salad? Are you thinking they'd say something like that? I mean, I always go to, oh, it's good. I'm just so full. You know I mean? They can't argue with you being full. Do you know what I mean?
An oldie but a goodie. And
yes.
That's a classic.
That's just what I always kind of go to. I don't even try to rationalize. I'm like, oh, I'm just so full. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'll have some later, you know, and then I'll try to get them, you know, to talk about something else so they forget they asked me to eat their food. But otherwise, my other options, you know, you could follow that banking of the calories a little bit so you can splurge a little bit more. Now, if I'm eating at someone else's house, I'll ask the host if I can bring a dish to share. That way I know there's something healthy I can eat for sure. Okay. And then I also do trade-offs at a lot of social gatherings. So for example, just for me, I don't really like hamburger buns and hot dog buns. I just don't find them satisfying. I just don't like them very much. I feel like they're a waste of calories to me. So I'll usually just eat the protein that would normally go on the buns. And then I use those bun calories for something that I really like.
Bun calories. I love that.
I use my bun calories. I mean, I like to save my calories for foods I don't normally eat on a regular basis. I'm not going to again, like I wouldn't probably go and just eat a bunch of tortilla chips because I can buy those anytime for myself. But if somebody made something and I hardly ever eat that, you know, it's something a little more special, I'm going to put my calories towards that, if that makes sense.
Unless they're homemade tortilla chips.
Well, then sometimes I might do that. Sure.
Yeah. Sometimes when you get those are like when they're still warm and everything.
Yeah, that's true. I also load up my plate with lots of veggies and some fruit if they're available. if fruits and veggies aren't available, I just take sensible quantities of the other foods that are there. I just try to watch my portions, right?
Yeah.
And then lastly, I just try to limit alcohol. So I'm more likely to make healthy decisions.
Okay.
I mean, that works most of the time.
Right. That's
I can't
fair.
guarantee I do it 100% of the time, but I try.
It's good to know that, even you sometimes break your rules every so often.
Yeah.
We need to be reminded that even though you're a queen, you are not infallible in this respect.
That's right. I'm still a human being.
So as we move out of our personal bubbles and start socializing and eating out more, it's helpful to have a few healthy eating tips in our back pocket. So I hope all of you listening found at least one tip that will help you either get healthy or to stay healthy so that your heart can be in the best shape possible. Now, if you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our heart healthy content. And be sure to share with your friends if you're enjoying our podcast and let them know that you can find us wherever you like to listen to your podcast.
That's right. Thanks for listening, everyone. And as we always say, be the ruler of your own heart. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Queen of Hearts podcast. Our podcast is recorded here at the Karen Yontz Women's Cardiac Awareness Center inside Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For more heart-healthy tips, info, recipes, and more, visit our website at www.karenyontcenter.org, like us on Facebook at Karen Yontz Center, and follow us on Pinterest. If you like what you hear, subscribe to our show and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, ladies, be ruler of your own heart.